everybody. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Irene Melagiotis, and I'm the interim head of school at Ann Arbor Orthodox Classical Academy. And we're here today to talk to you about our microschool program beginning this school year. It's a new academy that we are starting, God willing, and we plan to open its doors to families in the 2023 to 2024 school year. And it will be at that time the only day school in Michigan. But in the meantime, while our school is being constructed, we wish to offer the community two different 4-day learning programs that are Christ-centered and within the classical education tradition. An online learning program and a microschooling program. And in this presentation, we're focusing on the microschooling program, but for those interested in learning more about our online learning program option, please visit our website where you will have more information at your fingertips. So the focus, as I said, of this presentation is on our microschooling program. And I invite you, if you're interested in learning more and staying up to date, to sign up for our listserv for any further communications about the program or other events and news and updates related to our school. So we hope by the end of this presentation that any questions that you have are answered and that you'll walk away with a better understanding of what this educational approach has to offer our children. And if you have any other questions, we can certainly address those after the presentation. And if you have questions after that time, I welcome you to email me directly at imelabiotis, imelabiotis @A2OCA.org. So we can first begin talking about what microschooling is. So it's a movement that is going away from the current public education model, and it's a cross between homeschooling co-op, where parents are more involved in their children's education, such as taking on some teaching responsibilities at home, but also helping out and being involved as well in the classroom for those that are able to be involved in that capacity. So it's a cross between homeschooling co-op and a private school. Microschooling has gained popularity in the past few years due to parents seeking more educational opportunities for their children that are less hands-off and offer more transparency and accountability on what their children are learning. So generally, microschooling also involves smaller class sizes, meaning more individualized attention and instruction, multi-age groups where students of various grades have opportunities to learn from each other. And it also involves increased, as I mentioned, parent involvement and support so that they are more fully engaged with what their children are learning in as much of a capacity as they are able to. So in this way, our microschooling program helps promote community building among students and their families. And ultimately, what makes Ann Arbor Orthodox Classical Academy's microschooling program special and unique among similar other faith-based learning programs is not only the opportunity for children to live out their and their family's Christian faith throughout their educational journey, but also to do so within the classical education tradition. And not many microschools can say that they're in the classical education tradition. And in the classical education tradition, we value the development of wisdom and virtue in the fullness of Christ, which happens to be our motto for the school, wisdom and virtue in Christ. So some of the holy fathers of the Orthodox Christian Church, such as Saint Basil the Great and Saint Gregory the Theologian, were educated in the classical education tradition. I don't know how many of us knew that. As its main goal, which aims at its, sorry, I apologize, but going back, the classical education tradition aims as its main goal to teach students how to think and not what to think. So we will talk about this more in depth later. So as I mentioned, the microschooling program offers students and their families a classical curriculum that is Christ-centered in accordance with the Orthodox Christian faith and taught by Orthodox Christian teachers. In addition to this, the curriculum is rigorous and intellectually stimulating. The grades we are offering are junior kindergarten, so that's around 4 years old, kindergarten, and first grade. 2.5 hours of instruction, 3 days per week from 12:30 to 3:30 p.m. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, with Divine Liturgy and Catechism class on Wednesdays from 9 a.m., which is when Divine Liturgy begins, to 12:30 p.m., which is the end of Catechism class. And with this program that we have offering, the microschool program that we are offering, students are able to thrive if they have 1.5 to 2 hours of instruction at home, ideally per day, so that anything that is not taught in class during those 2.5 hours that we are instructing in class, those 3 days a week, they are able to learn at home. So they don't miss out on any important curriculum materials, and they progress along with their peers in similar programs. So this program, you can say, and you might have already guessed it, is a program that is best suited for homeschooling families that require support or would like guidance along the way. So the types of activities that the parent or guardian at home would provide their children is things like doing the read-alouds at home, writing support, writing practice, teaching topics, as I said, not covered in class, such as in the arts or history, geography, cultural studies, and assess student work. So those are the activities that wouldn't take place in the microschool program. But again, because it's this program is designed for homeschooling families are expecting anyways to do these activities at home, but we in class will be able to enjoy fellowship together and especially learning phonics and mathematics. Those are the two main subjects that we will be covering in person, because those seem to be the two main subjects that parents find the hardest to be able to deliver. So again, this is a very supportive program for mostly homeschooling families. Instructors, as I mentioned previously, are Orthodox Christian. One main instructor per class with at least one parent volunteer, ideally more than that, but that is not necessary for a student to be enrolled. That is parent involvement. Parents and guardians work together to assist with the lesson leading and or organization as per how comfortable they feel doing that. And I mentioned earlier that there is a low ratio between students and instructors, which equals individualized attention, or more individualized attention. Additional information about the program is the school calendar follows the liturgical Julian calendar. So we celebrate feast days. We talk about the saints of the day. We do our prayers, so students know their prayers that they should know at those early grades. Parents, guardians are also able to support their child in class if they're able to be there, and hopefully be able to continue on that learning process at home. Student uniform is planned, but that's going to be decided among the parents that are signed up for the program. So what kind of style we want. Of course, it's not going to be something formal, but it could be something as simple as a blue top and khaki pants, or a longer skirt for girls. And curriculum materials are purchased directly from Memorial Press. Parents are given a 10% off student discount code so that they can use to make the purchase. Shipping is not included in that, but that is extra. So that's just something to keep in mind. Read aloud book sets that are required for each grade are actually not necessary to be purchased from Memorial Press, although they are available and make it much easier for parents to have access to at home. But most of the books can be found at your local bookstore or in the library. So those are not necessary to purchase, but are certainly available. And I mentioned that we are a member school of the Association of Classical Christian Schools, which holds our members to a specific standard. So that is something that we are very proud to mention. So as a school, I'm talking now as the academy representative, but for us, the way that we see things, parents are children's first educators. And as parents, we are called to ensure the proper education of our children so that they grow strong in the truth faith and love our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And so for this reason, instructors work in partnership alongside parents to support their efforts to offer their children a Christ-centered upbringing, but within an educational environment. So our microschooling program will use the same curriculum source as our 5-day learning program that will begin, God willing, in the 2023 and 2024 year. But again, because it's geared towards homeschooling families, we only meet 3 days a week, half a day, so we expect parents to be able to continue on the teaching for other subjects that are not taught in class at home. long slide, I apologize. But now we're gonna move a little bit more quickly. So some of you may be wondering, what exactly does a classical education entail? Some of you already know, so bear with me if you already know, but for those that don't, I wish to just provide a brief outline over the next few slides. While there is much to be said about classical education and much more information available online if you're looking for more information, I provide a brief summary here over the next few slides, as well as a list of great resources near the end that you can explore on your own time. So as I mentioned earlier, the ultimate goal of a classical education is to teach children how to think and not what to think. This is one of the skills that can help us attain the Christian virtues. By teaching children how to think, they can grow to evaluate the information presented to them from various sources, think critically and logically about it, or about all the information that is presented to them, and seek the truth in everything. With these skills, they can recognize and appreciate what is good and beautiful, and they can use their God-given talents and gifts in ways that contribute to the good and beautiful for the glory of God. And here's an interesting quote that I share with you on the goal of a classical Christian education. The classical Christian does not ask, what can I do with this learning? But what will this learning do to me? The ultimate end of classical Christian education is to enable the student, disciple, to better know, glorify, and enjoy God. Our enjoyment of God is derived from our ability to see Him and to see His handiwork. So the goal of a classical Christian education then is to enable the student to better know, glorify, and enjoy God. And to help towards this goal, I mentioned that the curriculum is taught by Christian educators, but not only that, they believe, the Christian educators, that each person is an icon of God. In this way, their teaching philosophy stems from this understanding. So they also understand that truth is knowable and discoverable, which means that they dedicate their teaching efforts to assist children to acquire the tools through which children can know and discover this truth. And in the Orthodox Church, we know that the truth is a person, and that is Christ. The Holy Fathers teach us that an education that does not have this as its main goal or aim is a poor one. Not only intellectually, as children's education should foster their ability to reach their God-given potential, but also spiritually poor, as children's education should foster their purification of their souls and unification of God. Developing intellectual virtue is certainly important, which a classical Christian education can provide. But without developing Christian virtue alongside intellectual virtue, we can fall into various temptations, such as pride, which will lead us off the path toward our unification with Christ, which is what we do not want. So in this way, students who understand the value of developing both their intellectual and Christian virtues can appreciate the importance of using their knowledge to honor God in everything they do. And one of the ways Christian virtues can be developed is by placing God at the center of all learning, allowing students to grow to their full human and spiritual potential with the ability to engage society as mature followers of Jesus Christ, which is our school's mission. You'll notice in this diagram that there are 7 areas of learning. This is what separates classical education from other types of educational models. We have the trivium on the right-hand side, grammar, rhetoric, and logic, or dialectics, some people call it, which students engage in up until, or I should say between 2nd, mostly 3rd grade, to 8th, 9th grade, even 10th grade. And then we have the quadrivium on the left-hand side, which includes astronomy, geometry, music, and arithmetic. And this usually is the focus of students in the 10th, mostly 11th and 12th grades. And they use the knowledge that they gained at the trivium to be able to apply it to the quadrivium areas of study. We delve a little bit more into the trivium in the next slide because it is the trivium that is the focus of students learning in the elementary grades, which is what we are currently offering through our microschooling and online learning programs. I call your attention to the right-hand side of the screen where you see the image of that tree. I really reiterate that classical education involves students' immersion in the trivium and quadrivium. The trivium is the lower division of the 7 liberal arts, okay, which were depicted in the previous slide. So we have the grammar stage, in the very base of that tree, because those provide the roots for the tree to grow. And this is typically the preoccupation of 3rd to 6th grade students. And in this stage, students are expected to grow in knowledge and learn to observe and remember really well. And in the logic stage, which is right above the grammar stage, typically this is the focus of students in the 7th to 9th grades, and students in this stage grow in understanding and learn to think, reason, and analyze logically. And in the rhetoric stage, at the very top, we have students 10th to 12th grade, and I apologize. And in this grade level, students use their knowledge in grammar that they gained in the grammar and logic stages and apply it in this stage to grow in wisdom. And they apply it so that they can learn to clearly, effectively, and persuasively communicate their thoughts to others, and thoughts and ideas. So what does a classical education offer students? There are many things that it offers, but a few of the benefits can include students are exposed to the classics. They learn from primary sources and not from textbooks and what other people think about information. The curriculum is cohesive and integrated among topic areas. In this way, the interconnected nature of all knowledge is more apparent. The cohesiveness of the curriculum is accomplished because the 12th grade curriculum is designed first and designed backwards all the way to kindergarten, so that beginning in kindergarten, educators know what they need to teach for students to gain the knowledge, skills, and tools that they require to succeed in 12th grade. So how do students in the beginning grades learn? Well, in the grammar stage, there's a lot of repetition and drills and chants and songs, because this is how children learn best and how they learn enjoyably. And this helps to support their memorization of information. This way, students master foundational knowledge in the early grades that they will require to develop the skills and tools to support their steady progress towards 12th grade. Some other benefits of a classical education: students learn through didactic instruction, which involves being presented with models for a topic of study and contemplating them together with the teacher. For example, to understand Roman architecture, we look at and discuss examples of Roman architecture. Of course, we're talking about the later grades and not in the beginning grades that we are offering in our microschooling program, but I wanted to let you know what classical education entails, which is why I mentioned this. So going back to the Roman architecture example, if you want to learn about Roman architecture, you need to look at and discuss actual examples, engage in activities that allow students to deepen their understanding of the topic area, and have the teacher as a guide throughout the process. So it basically involves instruction through imitation of the great examples. And another possible example, and I can't possibly mention all of them, but another one that I will mention here is students learn through dialectic instruction, also known as the Socratic method, which involves the pursuit of truth through question asking. As we mentioned before, our school's focus is to offer a Christ-centered education in which children learn about and appreciate God's role in their everyday lives. This helps us achieve our school's mission, which is to assist students to grow to their full human and spiritual potential with the ability to engage society as mature followers of Jesus Christ. The curriculum in the lower elementary grades focuses on phonics instruction and offers Latin instruction starting in 2nd grade. Or 3rd grade, depending on the school. Learning about subjects such as science, history, geography is done through a carefully curated selection of stories and teacher-led discussions. And if we do not cover the curriculum material fully in class, as I mentioned, parents are expected to do the follow-up at home. Students are taught to write in cursive and are encouraged to write in cursive for all their assignments. This develops their discipline for precision and detail, their appreciation for detail, and fosters their love of beauty, which is one of the goals of an education in the classical education tradition, is to appreciate the good, the true, and the beautiful. The curriculum is developed and tested at Highlands Latin School in Kentucky, and its students are its students in the elementary and secondary grades consistently outperform their peers on nationwide standardized tests. And I invite you to take a look at a selection of the curriculum materials that we have here. I think, are they? I apologize, but I know they're here, but I will share with them. I see them back there. I will share with them whoever's interested in taking a closer look at them with anybody after the presentation. So why study Latin? I know a lot of parents ask that question, and I will address that really briefly with this slide. So again, study in Latin begins in 2nd or 3rd grade, but there are lots of benefits. I mentioned these here. I'm sure you can find more online if you research the topic, and I think I even have an article in one of the magazines here that I can share with you on the benefits. But learning Latin helps to support the development of advanced learning and writing skills. So while phonics learning helps with learning 50% of the English words, the other half of English words, about 80 or 90% of polysyllabic words, derive from Latin. So studying Latin helps children master English grammar and attain advanced reading and writing skills. Learning Latin makes it easier to pick up another Romance language. About 90% of the vocabulary of the 5 Romance languages come from Latin. So that's French, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian, and Spanish. So learning Latin basically assists them to become multilingual. And Latin learning also supports the habits of mind that are required to succeed in the logic and rhetoric stages of the trivium. Just like learning mathematical principles teaches accuracy and logic, learning Latin requires attention to detail, accuracy, precision, and patience, and therefore students gain a habit of mind for logic, order, discipline, and structure. Okay, so going more into the curriculum that is offered, not necessarily taught during the 2.5 hours of instruction that we meet for the 3 days a week, but I offer the curriculum here for you to see. And this is the kindergarten curriculum. I do not show the 1st grade or the pre-K curriculum, but the 1st grade curriculum is very similar to this in terms of the subjects and similar learning goals, but there are different books and materials. But this will give you an idea. So here we have phonics instruction, provides motivating, the curriculum provides motivating books and extensive practice in blending short vowels and 3-letter words. Mathematics, the goal for mathematics is mastery of basic facts through practice, and there are daily timed drills to meet this goal, and mastery of one skill at a time. So instead of working on different things, the students are focused on mastering addition first, and moving on to subtraction, moving on to number dictation, and so on and so forth. Okay. Continuing on to copybook, students read Bible stories that shape their core values, and they use scriptures and classical children's poems as copybook text. And to work on penmanship and their cursive, basic grammar, spelling, and accuracy, and as well as their attention to detail and memory. They all learn through their copybook and memory and Christian studies curriculum materials. So the next area that we have in our curriculum is literature. It is expertly curated by those at the Highland Latin School, and it provides quality children's book that motivate young readers. We have an online instructor, Mrs. Anne Ramirez, who wasn't aware of the curriculum, got sent the books, and she was just flabbergasted at the quality of the books, and she was reminded of many of the books when she was younger, what she learned in school. So she was very excited for that very reason to be teaching our online learning program. And if you'd like to meet her, you can go online and click on the online program tab. Examples of titles include Follow the Dream, The Story of Christopher Columbus, Gregory's Shadow, Katie and the Big Snow, and Wonders of Nature. Okay. In science, students are introduced to science-related concepts through books. Some examples of the literature that they read are Bugs Are Insects, From Caterpillar to Butterfly, From Seed to Plant, From Tadpoles to Frogs, How a House is Built, How Do Birds Find Their Way, What is the World Made of, Why Are Deserts Dry. Again, these books are included in the Read Aloud package from Memoria Press, so you're welcome to purchase it there, and for those that are unable to, these books are largely available in your public library or your local bookstore. Oh, did I apologize, I'm going back. So I apologize, I missed the last topic area that students, or curriculum area that students are exposed to, which is enrichment, and those are the areas of arts, history, music. So the weekly focus is on a particular musical piece and artistic piece with biographical information about the composer and discussion questions. And history is kind of interwoven with that because a lot of history and art work together. There's a lot of history that can be that can be learned through art. So this is what the weekly schedule for the microschooling program looks like. And I say looks like because this is what seems to work, but if we have a group of parents that says, you know, can we try to work around something, we will do our best. We're going to be as flexible as we can to try to meet the needs of the homeschooling families. So Tuesdays we meet 12:30 to 3:30, and instruction happens in this very church, so the atmosphere is very holy. And the primary instruction will be in language arts, phonics, and literature, as well as mathematics, and there will be, depending on time, some instruction in history or science, but anything that doesn't get instructed in class is expected to be taught at home. Wednesday is reserved just for Divine Liturgy with student participation, so students, depending on their abilities and skills, are assigned a role so they can participate. And between 11 to 12:30, we have catechism class, and this includes snack time. And after this, students, depending on parents' availability, will have a chance to have fellowship through playing in our playground or in our playroom. Thursday follows the same outline as Tuesday as well as Friday. And again, this is a very flexible program schedule, but this is what it will look like if there are no objections by the parents that are enrolled, or the students that are enrolled, and the parents. Let's move on to what a typical microschooling day might look like. Again, very flexible and open to what works for the parents, but this is generally what it will look like. Student drop-off is between 12:15 to 12:25. Instruction begins at 12:30 p.m. and ends at 3:30 p.m. And it includes, as the bottom two points indicate, a 15-minute snack break provided by the parents and a 15-minute recess break. The snack that's provided in catechism class is provided by the school. There's prayer at the start and the end of the day, because if we're to be Christ-centered in everything that the students learn, we must begin with Christ by glorifying Him and ending the day with Christ. Reading the life of the saint of that day, we have books such as this by Potomitas Press, My Civic Science. So every day there's a saint that can be read, the biography of. So for instance, Saint Euphemia, September 16th. And then we have recitations for the upper elementary grades, first grade. English grammar is the major thing that usually we recite, and then when Latin gets added, that there's also recitations involved in Latin. Lessons are in language arts, as I mentioned, and mathematics. There's some writing practice if time permits, but certainly parents are asked to support the writing practice at home for their children. Okay, tuition for junior kindergarten is $2,250 per year. There's a tuition deposit and then 9 monthly payments of $225 per month. Kindergarten first grade is a little bit higher, $2,475 per year. And so there's the tuition deposit and 9 monthly payments at $250 per month, plus the cost of books. And again, those read aloud sets can be purchased, which is an additional cost, but certainly if you are able to invest in that, I think it's certainly worth it, so you don't have to scramble to find books at your local library, but certainly for those that can't, the local library is very helpful for that reason. Single and trimester payment plans are available, and there's $100 off of tuition, full tuition for single payment plans. And all that information is in our tuition contract, which is available online for those of you that are not joining us here today, and I have copies of the tuition contract here if you'd like to take a look at it afterwards. And tuition discounts and tuition assistance is also available for qualifying families. Just email us at info@A2OCA.org. So currently enrollment is open for the microschooling program until we reach capacity, which is 8 children per grade level. We're trying to keep it low on purpose. The minimum number of children per grade level is 4 in order for the program to be offered. So we ask for your assistance. We have yet to reach our minimum capacity for the program to be offered. So ask your assistance in spreading the word far and wide about this program and everything that we offer to our children in our community. And as I mentioned briefly at the start of the presentation, we're also offering an online learning program for this school year as well, which mirrors the microschooling program, except classes are 1 hour per day for those 3 days that are taught. Students in the online program are expected to participate with Divine Liturgy and Catechism class, but for distance students, that's expected to be via the internet. And more information can be found online. I mentioned that before, but I reiterate in case it helps to recall that information from earlier. So feel free to take an information flyer of each of our programs. So Microschooling is here, online is here. If you know anybody that you'd like to share these with, or anybody that can post them in their communities, I welcome you to take some of these and pass them along. And again, the invitation to sign up for a listserv is always ongoing. That way you can be kept abreast of any news and updates and events happening at our school. So some parting thoughts. As we reach the conclusion of the presentation, here are some things to think about. So I mentioned earlier, as parents, we're called to guide our children to become saints. The home and church are two of the most formative places where this important educational journey takes place in their lives. And so the school should support parents' efforts to nurture their children's spiritual formation in Christ. This is what Ann Arbor Orthodox Classical Academy strives to offer parents, an education that complements students' home and church life by putting Christ at the center of their and our lives. And to be sustainable, we cannot do it alone. The school requires a community of like-minded people, Christ-loving people, to work together to support this Christ-centered mission of feeding Christ's flock on earth. This school is a school for all children, yours and ours, and for the next generation of Orthodox Christians. And how else can you help us? You can spread the word, as I mentioned earlier. That helps a lot with your friends and family to let us know that we exist. I encourage you to engage with us through our social media platforms. We have Instagram and Facebook, or our school website, so that you can learn more about our school and be kept informed on events, news, and updates about our school. You can also do that through our listserv. You can send an email through info@a2oca.org to ask to be included in the listserv. You can also join us if you wish to offer your time, talents, and treasures towards offering the children in our community a quality Orthodox Christian education in the classical education tradition. And perhaps equally as important, we humbly ask for your prayers for the school's success so that we can continue to do God's work for the benefit of our children and for the glory of God. And in case you're interested, this is the slide that I mentioned of the selection of resources. I can definitely email it to anybody interested. Many of these are available on our school website under classical education, the tab called classical education, but I would be happy, as I said, to email it to anybody interested. So as it pertains specifically to the education of children in the Orthodox Church, within the classical education tradition, the last two videos are quite interesting, and I invite you to view those. Okay, I invite you once again to view the curriculum materials firsthand to see the wonderful quality of education our children will receive through the microschooling program and online learning programs. Thank you for your time and consideration, and we look forward to any questions that you may have about our microschool program and any other topics related to the Academy. Yes, Father Colin.
You had mentioned at the beginning of the talk that that parental involvement is strongly encouraged. What would that look like?
However the parent feels in terms of their comfort level in class. So it could just be the parent helping out their child. You know? So if a child is asked to think of a topic, the parent can say, oh, let's think of something. How about that place that we went to or something? You know, to encourage that intellectual stimulation. Or it could be if they see another child struggling, helping that child. So it's entirely up to the parent as far as how they want to engage. But the ideal is that we have at least one parent in the group that's willing to serve as a teacher assistant, a voluntary teacher assistant, to assist the main instructor. But it is entirely up to the parent how much they want to engage. But just being present in class actually is a very big help for their child.
Okay, so the ideal is to have at least one parent present in the class as an aid.
As an aid to the teacher. And then it, you know, whatever else anybody else wants to do to support their own child, or to help hand out snacks, or, you know, to help open up, you know, snacks, or, depends on the needs of the children and the program and the instructor. Good question, thank you for asking. Any other questions that I can address now? You can always email me afterwards, but I'm happy to address any now.
So there's enough students for this year, correct? Starting out?
Not enough yet. I mentioned that we need help to advertise. So for those that have already submitted their applications, we do not cash checks until we have enough students.
I see.
And they will be informed if we do not have enough students, and their checks will be returned or other methods of payment for the tuition deposit. That's why we need help. But if you know other parishes that are interested, I invite you to take a flyer, ask them if they can be posted in their community section board. I know a lot of parishes have that. I just sent a flyer to electronically, of course, and you can actually grab one off of our website. To a person that lives in a community not too far from here, so she shared it with her community board. So things like that, if we get the word out that way, so that people know that we exist. There are many parents looking for this type of education, and it would be a blessing in their lives to find out from someone that it exists. Thank you for the question. Any other questions that I can help to address?
One more question. So the children will be learning Latin. Will they be learning Greek as well?
The idea is to do that in later grades, but
Okay.
Starting second or third grade, again, depending on parents and how everything pans out the first year and that's happening as soon as a child hits second or third grade. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the first alternate language that they learn, or in addition to what they're learning at home and in English.
Okay.
But ancient Greece is not going to be offered until likely fifth or sixth grade is when our curriculum offers it, the curriculum provider. So we'll probably be following that model.
All right. I had another question, but it's escaping me.
Mm-hmm.
No, I remember it. So in the beginning of the presentation, you had mentioned that there would be some sort of interaction or cooperation between the grade levels. Are they all going to be learning together? I mean, this church
Right.
does not have walls, so they will all be there. So is it all going to be from one teacher for all of the grades, or is it going to be individual teachers for the grades, or?
We are looking for individual teachers for each grade.
Okay.
That is what is the ideal situation. But some micro school programs only have one teacher for the grades. So if that is what ends up happening, in order to get the program off the ground and moving forward, then we will have to address that when it comes, and it may just be one teacher, but the ideal is one teacher per grade. That is what I'm striving, and that's what I'm going to aim for.
Okay, but there is precedent for if it came down.
Oh
to
yes, there's precedent, and I prefer not going down that road if we
Right.
don't have to.
Okay.
But I think it would have to be a joint group decision between all the parents that have signed up. Like, hey, look, we don't have enough for each, like the minimum for each grade, but we do have enough students to start. Is it okay if we mix grades? And if the consensus is yes, then it will move forward. And if the consensus is no, then we respect that.
Okay. So at this time, would there be enough to pool the grades that are currently available to start the program?
Yeah.
Not right now? Okay.
Yeah, that's why we need help advertising.
Excellent.
We've had, communication materials through our Facebook and Instagram pages sent to parishes. We've done parish presentations. We've put our feelers out. And now we're seeking for interest to be made known to us, which is on the bottom of the flyer. It made very clear program availability subject to meeting minimum enrollment, and reach out today to express your interest so we know that you're out there. And I should mention this. So if tuition amounts is a factor that is factoring in some people's decision whether or not to enroll in this, please reach out to us, because as I mentioned in the slides on tuition, we have tuition assistance available. But we just have to have the students to be able to support them through tuition assistance. So if there's a need, we will help, because we want this education to be offered to whichever families want it. That's our goal. So thank you for reminding me to mention that, just in case that is a determining factor for some families, tuition. So please do not let that be a stumbling block. Reach out to us, let us know, hey, I want to be involved in this program, but tuition is difficult. Can you work with me? And we can certainly do that. Yes?
So did you get people expressing interest, but not really.
verbally, but we don't have the applications, so we can't really count them, right?
Right.
So get your applications in soon.
But did they say why they wouldn't, like, did they have objections?
Okay, so several people are saying that they want to be involved, but no application. Other people say that yes, this is great, but either tuition or distance is the problem. Distance to here. We're in Dexter, Michigan, close to Ann Arbor families, but some families come from further off than Ann Arbor. So
You guys got our application, right?
yes, we did.
So the only application.
We did. So this is for our children, and if there are no other questions, I guess no. We're doing this for our children. Okay, this is the type of education they deserve.
Do you think some people are just procrastinating, or?
There's a bit of that, but they shouldn't wait. If that's somebody on the other side of the screen watching this, if you're that procrastinator, please reach out to us today and let us know, hey, we're going to apply. We're just going to apply the last minute, so we know, okay, we can expect how many students are going to be involved. Instead of having to not be able to offer the program and then disappoint the families that have already registered, but not enough students are registered to be able to move forward. So yeah. It's the need is there. I've mentioned this because a lot of people ask me. The need is there. I hear it all the time. This is why we've taken it into our own hands, because I don't know of any other Orthodox day school, which is what we're opening up, but micro school in particular for this year, that is operating. So if this sounds like something that this type of education is something that you want to offer to your child in your homeschooling, and you want support, and you want your child to not just be at home, but to also have fellowship, and you have fellowship with other parents, if you have the time to join us, this is the opportunity for you. Okay, if that's, I think that's it. No other questions? Okay, again, if you have any other questions, I'm very happy to address them through email. Best way to contact me is through my email, which I didn't indicate there, but you can email info@a2oca.org and I will get that email. Just address it to me. Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you had your questions answered, and God bless you and yours, and we hope to serve you this coming September.